Hey Pat,
Well, hello, hello. How's it going?
good. How are you?
Another day in beautiful paradise. Look at this group. This is fun.
Isn't this fun? Yeah. And for those of you like Lizelle and Alan, welcome. If you're able to be on camera, that would be amazing because we love seeing people's faces rather than thank you, Alan. Hey, welcome. So, my name is Eric Tepper. I'm the CEO of Red Light Method. And little real quick snippet about me. I've been in the fitness industry for almost 30 years now. I met Allison about 2 years ago. And of course, who doesn't fall in love with Allison? And I've been with them ever since. And just like it's such a joy to be working with Red Light Method and to be with all of you and to share some of the insights that we've learned. And I don't think she needs a lot of introduction, but Allison, did you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi everybody. I have my toy poodle Naomi here. Um, good to see you guys. It's awesome. I've been in the fitness industry 25 years, so Eric's a little older than me. But it's a lot of fun, and it's what I feel about working with Eric is like I found like my business soulmate, as far as everything, like his strengths are my weaknesses. And so it's just been such a joy to get to work with him and our whole team. And yeah, Red Light Method's been awesome. It's blessing so many people, and it really is, they're really a joy to own. They really are. So compared to like my other franchises I've had before, it's a night and day difference. So I really enjoy them. But yeah, it's good to see everybody.
And and today, whether you're interested in Red Light Method or you're a franchisee with another brand or thinking about another brand, we want to provide you with value today. And that's why, between Allison's franchise experience with Club Pilates and now what we've learned with Red Light Method, we thought that we would use this time to share some valuable insights into what we see are kind of like the foundations for building success in just about any location in the world. Okay. So, to start off with, if you think about if you've ever gotten into business or you're in the health and wellness business, every owner starts with kind of like a dream, right? It's like, oh my gosh, I'm going to help people. It's going to be amazing. Whether you're doing red light, you're doing yoga, you're doing plot, whatever it is. And then for some people, what happens is it quickly changes. And what we've seen is that really the biggest thing that will cause that shift where it goes from I'm so excited and I love this to let me let Abner in to this is like, weighing on me is when it becomes an expensive habit or an expensive hobby, if you will. Right. And what we mean by that is you don't want to pay five or $10,000 a month to keep your business going. That's not sustainable. And as much as I've shared this with a lot of people, I have seen it, and not with Red Light Method. I've seen it with a lot of other brands. Typically in the health and wellness business, it's predicted that your first 6 to 12 months you'll operate in the red. And, when Allison and I started working together, we said that's not acceptable. We want our franchisees to be successful month one. So
Yeah.
what does that look like? Yeah, go ahead, Allison.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I've never opened a studio in the red. They've always been in the black. And most people, like if you look at Club Pilates compared to other brands in the exponential portfolio, it's the only one that's like really rocking and rolling still, whereas others in that portfolio are not doing well or they've gotten it out of their portfolio. But red light method, like we stick to those same principles of like opening up with X amount of members, keeping overhead low, how to mitigate expenses. So we're looking out that our franchisees don't open up in the red. They want to open up in the black, even if that's a small black where it's like I'm only making a couple thousand profit the first couple months, but then it's growing. So you're not losing money from day one. And I've never opened one that loses money in day one. So that would scare me if I saw a franchise where they expect you to be in the red for a year or two. I don't think that's cool. That's all.
Yeah, and it's crazy because most do. That's what most say to expect, and that's not our expectation at all because we don't want that for anybody. So, Allison described it. This is what success looks like for us. is that your revenue outweighs your expenses from the beginning. Now, that's probably easier said than done. Like, okay, well, how do you do that? And that's why you're all here. It's like, well, how do we do that? So, looking at the business, it can seem sometimes overwhelming, especially when you're building it. We see studio owners that go from day one, and then as they get closer to opening, it's like their hair is on fire and they're drinking from a fire hose, and it's like, ah! So we like to try and keep things as simple as possible. And that's why we provide a ton of hands-on support to keep the noise out of the way and really keep you focused on the key elements that will help you open successfully. So we're going to share with you what we see as the 5 top aspects, the 5 keys to open successfully. Okay. And this is not just red light method. We're sharing with you like for wherever. The first one, and I love this one, and I love Allison's story when she first opened Club Pilates, is the mental state of the owner. Allison, do you want to share the napkin story?
Okay, which napkin story? Tell me.
Where you wrote down like what it was going to be, and then
Oh, yes. Okay. This one. Okay. So I think the mindset is such an important part in franchising and being a business owner because it's a different mindset than an entrepreneur. And there's a lot of great books I recommend on this. Like The Midas Touch is a really good one because it goes from employee to self-employed to business owner to investor, and they're natural steps you progress through. Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. But anyways, what I did was get a piece of paper, and on one half of the paper, I wrote down what I want to happen. And then I flipped that piece of paper over and wrote why I know it's going to happen. And what I wrote was Club Pilates will be the largest Pilates company in the world. And I flipped it over and I was like, why I know it's going to happen is because we're providing such a great service that's needed at a great value. And it's happened. It's like crazy. It's like 10x to any other Pilates brand or studio or anything. And it happened. And I feel the same thing with Red Light Method. It's just a different variation because it's not just boutique fitness. We're combining these medical grade modalities as well, which is so awesome and so important. And it's really helping because I think people are realizing that sickness is from cellular health. And until that cellular health starts to improve, we're gonna not feel as great. Exercise, of course, helps, and exercise is great. And so we've kind of bridged the gap on the two. So I see this very similar to how Club Pilates was in the early days, because back when Club Pilates started, boutique fitness didn't really exist. It was big box gyms. Reformer sessions were $80 a session. It just wasn't, it got such a small percentage of the population. And it's very similar with the different modalities we're doing as well with the biohacking and the red light. And we're launching in other modalities like EWAT, exercise with oxygen therapy, is going to start in Reno this week. While people are on the power plate, if they want, there'll be a hose hanging down and they could buy a mask and do their power plate workout while breathing in 90% pure oxygen, which is so cool. It's part of the superhuman protocol. But yeah, it just really, this has been a really fun thing. But that mental state and the victim mentality versus the take the bull by the horns, because so many people fall into this victim mentality, and there can be challenging things that happen. And that's where that perseverance, and that's why I love entrepreneurial books so much, like Good to Great or Think and Grow Rich or all these different books, because it's it shows that perseverance and that follow through. And ultimately, I believe this mental state is determines whether you're an owner who's free from your business and you have financial freedom, time freedom, or if you're enslaved to your business. And again, that book, The Midas Touch, really touches on that, of breaking through from employee to self-employed, because a lawyer and a doctor is self-employed, but they have to work for their stuff, to then breaking through to business owner. They're natural progressions. It's hard to go from one to the other. You want to follow the steps. And I think that's why franchising is so helpful, because you don't reinvent the wheel. The systems have been tried and true. You're not flopping around, wasting $5,000 or $10,000 a month trying to find the right marketing company and that kind of stuff. It's all delivered and packaged, and the systems work. And yeah, another great book is E-Myth Revisited. I love that book. If you guys I'm an audiobook junkie, but E-Myth Revisited, it's all about systems. It's really great. Another really great book is 10X is better than 2X. Because if you're going to do it one time, you might as well plan to do that to the 100th power or the 1,000th power, because it's the same amount of effort for 1 or 1,000.
Yeah. That's great. And along the lines of mental state as well, is we know what franchisees go through in their journey to, okay, I'm into getting open. So, sometimes the calls that I have with franchisees, it has nothing, they're doing everything right. And it's just they need the virtual hug. So what we like to call it, our one of our recent openings, about a month before opening, I said, why don't we get on the phone? You sound stressed, I can tell. And they just needed to like talk about what their concerns were. And as soon as they talked about it and we got grounded in reality, they were like, okay, we're good to go. So that's a big part of it. Another part of the mindset is scarcity versus abundance. And, this is something I know Allison believes in, I believe in. I'll give you an on the court example. One of our new franchisees came in and, wouldn't you know it, the government shuts down. So all the SBA loans are on pause because they can't get approved. But, he's in and he's like, look, I can sit here and go, oh, I can't afford to do this. I can't afford to. He's like, I know it's going to work. He's like, so I'm spending the money. I'll replace it later. Now, I'm not saying y'all should do that, but that is what's called an abundance mindset, right? Versus coming from, oh, geez, that's $500 out of my pocket. I don't know if I can do that. We just had this conversation with our marketing company. If it's going to cost, instead of $2,000, $3,000 to get the amount of leads you need, then that's what you need to do in pre-sales. So really coming from that abundance mindset. There is an unlimited, not unlimited, but there are hundreds of thousands of people that typically live within 25 minutes of wherever you're opening your business, whatever business that is. But you notice we get really fixated on like, oh, I only got like 80 leads this month. I don't know what I'm going to do. Go out and find somebody. There's 100,000 people within 20 minutes. They're waiting for you to tap them on the shoulder. So that all goes into mindset. Number two, and this is one that we just will not budge on with any of our franchisees. And we recommend that if you're opening a business, whatever that business is, that you look at this too, which is a great lease. So Allison, what goes into a great lease?
Mhm.
And I'm going to put this slide up because I think this is the core of it.
Mhm. Yeah. Oh, yeah. This is perfect. This like basically shows our South Reno location. So I opened South Reno in February of this year, and it's in a great location. And right around the corner is like the very nice Class A retail. That's where the Sprouts is. That's where my favorite restaurant is. That's where other modalities are. But the lease for a 1,600 square foot spot there is $10,000 a month, whereas we're like literally 4 football fields away. Nice strip. We have a garage door in the back, so we're a flex space, and our rent is $2,900 a month. And so that's a big, I mean, that's $84,000 difference. And most franchises are going to drive you into Class A retail, and they don't care. Like, they want you to be in the most bougie, expensive shopping center and to sign a 10-year lease, and then you're locked into this, and it's potentially millions of dollars. And if things were to, we had an 08 event happen because I opened Club Pilates in December 07, and then in 08 the economy tanked and we had to course correct. And while other studios were in $10,000 a month rent, our rent was $1,500 and like a random office park Jessica remembers in San Diego. Like, it was great. And we went gangbusters there. We were seeing 20, like we'd fill up the whole parking lot. It was nuts. So, and it was hard to get into. There was like, you had to like enter a code on the weekends and drive through a gate and drive around. And people are like, I'm locked out. How do I get, like, it was kind of a bad location, but it was so central to like 1.5 million people within a 20-minute drive time. And it wasn't inconvenient. It's almost more inconvenient going into a big shopping center and having the parking so full you can't find a place to park, and then your car is getting dinged up because you're at the Whole Foods or whatever. And those are more stressful parking lots in my experience on going to something regularly. I prefer going into something 4 football fields away that's like ample parking and it's not crazy. So low overhead is so important, and we help people with that in every step. Like, I'm starting my search right now because I moved back to Northern Nevada, and I like owning these studios. They're fun, they're great. And I hope to have one and like sell it to my daughter someday, and she's able to like buy it and operate it because she loves it. But anyways, yeah, we're looking right now in Sparks, Nevada, which is about a half hour, 35 minutes northeast of South Reno for our next location, because we're losing members because they're like, they joined from Sparks, but they're like, man, it's a 45 minutes. Like, I can't do this traffic 45 minutes, 3 times a week. Like when you open in Sparks, we'll be back. We have like 100 of those right now. And so we're like, okay, we're going into Sparks. And I'm looking for real estate, and it's the same thing. Cause you don't want to be in a center where there's like homeless people and you feel unsafe and that. So we call them a unicorn flex space, and you're finding a more affordable spot for rent. But also, I never sign a 10-year lease. I sign a 5-year lease with the option to renew at the same rate for another 5 years, which is essentially a 10-year lease. And then there's all these different things we can help with negotiations. Like there's a rolling personal guarantee, because like usually you're gonna sign a personal guarantee no matter what if you're signing a lease. But you can have a personal one where it's like an 18-month rolling personal guarantee. So if there's a pandemic happens, we also do a pandemic clause and a World War III clause in our leases. So if a COVID thing happens and you're forced to shut down for 18 months in California, like, and if your rent's 10,000 a month, I mean, that's not a pretty picture. Those are things we want to prepare for. And so that's where, if you're forced to close and like your rent's 2,500 a month, that's a lot better than a $10,000 a month rent. But then that rolling personal guarantee or the World War III pandemic clause, typically we get 5 or 6 months free rent in the beginning. We also get the landlord to contribute to our tenant improvement allowance. So in South Reno, we got about $20,000 from the landlord for our build out. They didn't give it to us directly. They paid the contractor directly. And then we also got 5 or 6 months free rent. So as we're doing our build out, as we're in pre-sales, we're not bleeding out money before we have money coming in. So these are just little tactics and to help. But the location, we also use very amazing, sophisticated software called Buxton. It is like the cream de la cream of software. Like a license for what we do is like 30,000 a year just to have access to this software. And so we use the software to map out similar things. We look at potentiality scores, which shows us like, what does our current member profile, how does that match and superimpose on Reno or Tucson or San Diego? And that helps us to determine, is this even a good location? Like one area we looked at, the average age, like 80% of the population was 20 to 29. That's not our member profile. We're like a 40 to 80-year-old group. We're the older end. So we don't want to open up in a college town that's a bunch of 20-year-olds. We want to go out to like, where are that 55-year-old woman is probably like our average client member, give or take 10 years. So that's our core of our members. So we want to look for places like, oh, look at this population spread. Like 60% of the population is 65 plus. And then the next hugest chunk is 45 to 54 or whatever. So we're like looking at that. And then we check the potentiality score. And then we could even click on other locations. Like I could be like, okay, let me look at Restore Hyper Wellness or another brand. I want to look at Pure Bar or Hotworks or Massage Envy. And then I can click on that and see how far do their actual members drive to get to that location. So it helps us to be like, is this a city where people drive an average of 24 minutes to their boutique fitness? Or are they only driving 12 minutes? So then that's helping us, giving us information on looking in that immediate area of, is this great or not? So this happened with our Atlanta metro area owner. She's opening up in East Cobb. And so there was 2 locations. And me as the franchisor, one was like 2,500 a month, and it was in a nice center. It was very beautiful, but it was like more in a neighborhood, and it had like a preschool there, and there was nothing big though. There wasn't a Target, there wasn't a Whole Foods. And the 2,000 square foot, the rent was like 2,500 a month in beautiful area of Metro Atlanta. And then there's another one like 10 minutes away, and it was in a Target shopping center. It was where the Whole Foods, the Trader Joe's was, da 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 da. And it was about 6,000-7,000 a month. So it was a big difference. And she's like, I don't know. I think I want the visibility. I think I want to be there. But after we ran the data, we're like, actually, you have a higher potentiality and like 50% more population around this location than this one, because this one's not where the people live. This one's where they live. And this is like a quaint, safe, beautiful, affordable neighborhood place. So she's getting, so you can find these places in San Diego, in Atlanta. It doesn't just exist in Arkansas and Oklahoma. So I'm going to always drive our franchisees to these $3,000 places. Now we do have some franchisees, like maybe they own 20 other businesses and they're like, no, I want to go into Whole Foods. Like I know what that's worth and I'm totally fine with $10,000 a month rent. They can override me, but I'll have it like me showing in case in the future they're like, oh man, my profit's only this versus that. I'd be like, bruh, I told you to sign the $2,500 a month one, not the $10,000 a month one. And you went against that. Like, So like, I want to almost like shake the baby. I'm like, don't do it. Like,
And that is like, honestly, that is to the degree that Allison and our whole team, like, will be like, no, do not do that. We are begging you. This makes no sense. Take the space that's over here. Especially in the boutique business, it's, big box gyms, they do get walk-in traffic. That's something that happens. Boutiques don't typically thrive on walk-in. It's more of somebody searching it out, either virtually or however they do that. So, okay. So what's, so that's when we talk about lease, like that's the number one, right? Because that is typically your biggest expense besides payroll, which we'll touch base on in just a minute. And it's something that once you're locked in, you're locked into it. That expense is around your waist for as long as you have that space. We also, we have like not mock, but models of LOI examples that we share with our franchisees, like what to ask for. Ask for the moon, because it's amazing what some landlords end up agreeing to. Initially, they're like, no, 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 no. But then their space is sitting empty and they're like, well, maybe. We just recently had someone get 10 months of abated rent, completely free rent for 10 months. And it wasn't in an area that's like unpopular. This was in like a very popular Texas area.
yeah, Dallas. It's between Dallas and Fort Worth in a beautiful location, super nice. Like I was in shock what they negotiated, like 10 months free rent on a 5-year lease. Like I did that one time in San Diego during the 2010 crash in our downtown Bankers Hill location. It used to be a studio and they went out of business during the last crash of 08 to 2011. And they paid 10,000 a month. We got it for 2,500 a month. And then we also got 10 months free rent. Like it was a premium spot and it's still there to this day. It's still very busy, successful studio. So
yeah. And one of the reasons we do it this way is it gives you a little bit more almost like DIY power, do it yourself, where you don't have to rely on a national broker. We recommend you use like loopspark.net, something like, is it LoopSpark? Yeah.
LoopNet,
LoopNet.
loopnet.com, and then Crexi, CREXI. Those are great spots. But also for prospecting, it's fun to look at stuff, but then also don't like go too far down the rabbit hole and be like, I found this great location. I want to sign the lease tomorrow, but I need to sign the franchise agreement because that's the out of order of operations. And so we see people get really excited about that and do that. And then they're starting from behind. We've had a couple do that and we're like, don't do that because you literally takes a month or two just to get trained on the portal so you know what to do once you do sign a lease. So there's prep work before just signing a lease and opening. Like you got to be trained in all of our systems and we got to set up all of your microsite and get your texting number and your business cell. There's a lot of steps that are orchestrated and designed. And yeah, I was going to go on a little tangent about phone numbers because we recently had a franchisee. Should I not say this tangent? Yeah, I'll say it real quick. So it was we told them to use this certain company for your business cell phone. And when they do, it comes up as Red Light Method and the city name and it's people answer. Well, they went with a different company untested. So all of their calls came in as spam caller. And so it's like, if people are clicking your ad and then you're calling them and it says spam number, no one's going to answer. So then your conversion rate is messed up because no one's answering because your phone, no, I don't answer spam calls when they say spam. I'm like, who does that? So anyways, that was just a little tangent there, but off the topic.
All good. All good. It all counts. Okay. So the third one, and this is kind of almost like in order of like now you signed your lease, is don't overspend on your build out. Style is great. And, we want to keep it nice, but not too nice. Because really what they're there for is the service. And we have this like kind of loose golden rule. Like if your contractor pulls up in a Range Rover, you should probably almost all the time be a no, that's not your contractor. You want to find somebody who is local, has a good reputation, but is not part of some like big construction chain. we gave a national construction chain an opportunity to bid on one of our studios. They came in at more than triple the cost of any other contractor that we've talked to. And so what we do with Red Light Method is we have a design intent packet, which gives you kind of the basic, here's the design. Some of our studio owners, they stuck to the very basic, and their build outs are like 50, 60.
44. Yeah. Oklahoma City was $44,000 and he did it in like 2 weeks. And then another build out, Cincinnati's build out was like $20,000 and did it in like 2 weeks because they found small contractors who have like a 1980s scary looking van, and they came in and did the contract work. And then we've had others, like mine in Reno was about 60,000. So but then we've seen some people opt to pick their very favorite bougie contractor and they spent 100,000+. So it's like, I'm scrappy. And so I'm going to push you to the $44,000 contractor. And he's actually doing Texas now because he's licensed in like Texas and Oklahoma and like a bunch of states. And like they're literally build outs done in 2 weeks. And I mean, under 50,000. It's amazing. Amazing.
Yeah. And here's the thing, the one that they spent like 40 to 50,000 compared to the one that spent closer to 100 grand, they're not performing any differently. If anything, the less expensive one's performing a little bit better for different reasons. But you want to have it nice, but sometimes you fall in love with, oh, I'm gonna have this there, and I'm getting, these kind of furniture. And like, your members are there for their treatment and they're there for you, your team, and the experience. So we included a few pictures that we can show to you. So, here, this one is considered one of our higher end build outs. This is somebody who's, got like 20 other franchises that he owns. So he has preferred vendors that he uses. But this was a lovely, and it's a nice build out. This is our Midtown Atlanta studio. And you can get a picture here of the Midtown Atlanta. This was also like one of our higher end studios. Our treatment rooms are not anything super fancy. They're like, what are they? 4x5 rooms, Allison, typically 4x6?
Or 6x8. 6x8.
6x8. And you can see like nothing super fancy. And we do that because they're there to get the red light treatment. The room itself, as long as it's nice and it's clean and the people are friendly, it doesn't make a difference. So don't overspend on the build out. We keep our eyes on, other boutiques and other franchises. And, when you see that some of these franchises are like over $1 million to open one location, how can you make any money? You've got to sign up like 700 people before you even break even. And that's hard to do. Boutique business pre-2020, sure. I think it was Orange Theory averaged to like 750 members per unit. Not anymore. That's
like
not their model anymore.
400. And like our magic number is like 300 is a great number. 400's awesome. 500's like, oh, but it's not like in Club Pilates in the olden days, like 300 in the Club Pilates, they're basically full. Like at that point, members can hardly get into class. So really a healthy Club Pilates is 300, but they now oversell their memberships to 400, 500. No one can get in, and then attrition goes up. So really, if you have a capacity of 12 an hour, 300 is your happy number. If your capacity is 16 an hour, it's probably more like 400. But those are happy numbers. You can always overbook and overdo more. And there's a lot of little nuances with the packaging. Like, is it an unlimited package? Is it a 12 pack? Because when you have that many unlimited members and they're coming every single day, you can hold a lot less than if you have like 16 packs or 15 packs or whatever versus the unlimited. So, yeah.
And then number 4, and this is like one of my favorite ones because this is really my background, is sales is everything. There's the expression, nothing happens until somebody buys something. A lot of studio owners will go into it and say, well, I'm not a salesy type person. I don't, really jive with sales. That's okay if you don't want your studio to actually, be in business in a year. You have to embrace best sales practices. Now, what I will say about the way that we create our sales structure, it is not a high pressure, super salesy environment. We really speak to our core values, which is love thy neighbor as thyself. And, we know that our treatment works. And if somebody has something that ails them, something that's troubling them, we provide an absolutely incredible value. Red light treatments with a medical grade FDA cleared red light device like we use, just the treatments alone are typically between like $100 and $200 per half hour treatment. With us, they get 16 treatments a month. They get the power plate workout. They get the Pilates workout. They get an infrared sauna. They might get PEMF treatments. They might get EWAT, all for like $200 a month. So we provide a ton of value. Pre-sales is something we really focus hard on. A lot of owners, when they go into this and they're ramping up, they have this view that, well, it'll be easier when I'm open because people will be able to come in and they'll be able to experience it. It'll be easier to sign up. I'm not arguing with that. It's actually, in some ways, it's kind of true. But the difference is once you're open, you have attrition. Your energy is split differently because you've got your existing membership, you've got your billing, you've got your payroll. Pre-sales is the one time in the life of your business that all you're focused on is growing your membership. And, back to the mindset piece, if you open with, let's say it's 200 members and you're generating, I don't know, let's call it $28,000 a month, hypothetically, and your expenses are only like $18,000 a month. Okay, day one, I've got $10,000 a month in profit. So now I want to invest and throw a party for my members, and it's going to cost me $1,000. I'm not going through the decision, do I have the money? This is coming out of my pocket. I have the money. I have that abundance mindset. And that's what we see with owners when we open where the revenue exceeds the expenses, is they're just less stressed about the whole thing. And, I've worked with a number of different brands where I see where they open in the red and they're making decisions on 2-ply and 1-ply toilet paper. I mean, that's not a decision you want to have to make when you're, in the first year of operating your business, which you love so much. And that's where that transition, where it goes to an expensive hobby, and all of a sudden you're like, I'm not having fun. I'm stressed every day.
And
Yeah, Allison.
I just want to toot Eric's horn because I've been in this industry a long time and worked with so many different sales guys. Like Eric is literally like I said in the beginning, he's like my business soulmate, but he is amazing with this sales process. He's like a genius with it. And it doesn't feel icky. Like in the Club Pilates sales training, it's like they have like, oh, if you have to ask your spouse, they have like all these like hypothetical, almost like manipulative things you're supposed to say when a person's like, oh, I really love the session, but I got to go talk to my husband. Like that's something where we're not like, oh, well, what if your husband, like, we're not like we're like, I hear you. I totally understand that. Like, it's a loving sales process that's natural. And you're actually like hearing them and repeating back what they said and like acknowledging what they're saying. And that just feels more authentic and true versus these other tactics that are used and everything. So I at the time before Eric and I got together, I was working with 3 salespeople total. The other 2 were from my previous days in exponential fitness and Club Pilates and all that. And meeting Eric, I was like, oh, this is like what we need. This is the real deal. And it's so cool because he has so much experience of working with so many other brands. It's amazing. But anyways, I just wanted to toot Eric's horn because it really is a gem when it comes to that. Like he is the best I've ever seen or met.
I love you too. We really are like this, like every day. So the last point that we'll put that is really a key one, and this is really more after you open. So when you open, and again, whether this is red light method or any business you go into, your first month, your payroll is going to be heavier because you've got to, get used to, you've got to train your members. They come in the first time, they're like, where do I go? What do I do? So it takes extra time to get them into the service. And your team, in terms of wrapping and unwrapping and cleaning, they're not as fluent as well. I mean, you put Allison's daughter works in one of the studios. She can literally turn over a room in like 90 seconds. It's amazing, right? But that takes time to get to. But once you get past that first month, one of the biggest mistakes we see is not managing your payroll, because overstaffing is comfortable, right? It's like, well, I'd rather have more staff than less because I want to provide great service. What you'd be surprised to see is that when you have too much staff and they're not busy, it actually provides a bad experience because they start like tripping over each other. They get into like idle hands, idle hands, that expression. They start like chit-chatting and gossipy, right? Because they're not busy, they're not engaged. And it will suck the money out of your business very, very quickly. So what we do is with our owners as they're getting ready to open, we kind of put together a model of what their hours should be, how many people they would need to manage it. We actually, typically someone on our team flies down for the first few days they're open anyway to kind of help with that transition. But to make sure that the expenses for payroll are matching where the membership is. And there's a whole rubric that goes into it. It had like 6 different grids in it. But really, the things that go into it is how many treatment rooms do I have, and how big is my membership? Those are kind of the 2 big ones. Because if you have 6 rooms with 200 members, that could actually be a busy studio. If you have 9 rooms with 200 members, it's going to be fairly slow in that studio. So, looking at that, now if you have 300 members, like Oro Valley in Arizona opened with over 300 members, they have, what do they have, 6 rooms, Allison, or 8 rooms? I forget.
Yeah, I think they started with 6 operating rooms and 300 members. And Reno started with 300 members, 315 and 9 rooms, but both were very busy starts. So
Yeah. So we needed like full payroll, like a huge team there. So that's one of the key elements, and we absolutely help guide our franchisees on that to make sure they're not overspending.
yeah, the good news too is if like you open with a smaller footprint, like say 6 or 7 rooms, your equipment cost is significantly lower in the FDD. Like if you're opening with 6 or 7 rooms, it's maybe 120,000 worth of equipment versus if you're doing 9 or 10, that's more like 200 grand worth of equipment. So that's one thing to consider. And I always encourage people to stair step. So say you build it out with 10 rooms, but you start with 6 sets of equipment. And then once you're at 250 members, then you grow to 8 sets of equipment. And then once you're 300 plus, you go to 10. That's what we did in Bentonville, Arkansas. So that way you're not right up front filling out 10 rooms. You have the room to grow to that, but you're mitigating your out of pocket money expense until your studio demands that. And so that's one thing to do. But in the smaller rooms that are 6 or 7, they can see 12 an hour, which is the same capacity as a Club Pilates. You only ever need 2 staff there. So really like your payroll is under 10,000 a month, basically, versus if you have a 9 or 10 room studio, then you're going to need up to 3 staff. So now your payroll is pushing more like 15 to 20,000 a month. So you're going to have bigger. So I'm looking for Sparks when we open that. I'm looking to do that in a 1,200 square foot space. I want to do 7 rooms. And so I'll have an extra room just in case. And I want to just do the smaller footprint because we're not offering unlimited anymore. So if we're offering 15 packs, I can now hold 500 members of those versus the unlimiteds. I can only hold 250, 300, and then we're really busy. So I'm looking to do it in a smaller footprint. And then my payroll is going to be like half of what South Reno is because South Reno has so many people on unlimited, first of all. So we're very busy down there. And then we have 9 rooms. So we have a bigger capacity. So I usually have to have 3 people most during busy times. During like we're busiest too between like 8 a.m. and like 1 p.m. is our busy time. And Bentonville also. So it's unique. It's not 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. like Club Pilates is really busy. And Club Pilates is really busy from 3 till 7 p.m. But the middle of the day, it's less busy because it's a younger demographic. So we have the demographic of people who have free time during the day and they're like running like 10 a.m. for us is a zoo. Everyone and their mom wants 10 a.m. and 11 a.m. and like those random hours. So it's a different age demographic, different model. So we have 3 people in the schedule, usually between like 8 a.m. and like 2 p.m., which is weird because that's not how Club Pilates is. But we're a different demographic. We're a slightly older demographic. And there's a lot of people in that older demographic looking for stuff like this that's gentle and effective and everything, and it works. But I'm excited to do the smaller one for my next one and have the less payroll margins, but I really like really good margins. I'm always aiming for like 50% profit margins is my my goal, which is unheard of. Like usually Club Pilates are like 30%. In the original days, Club Pilates were 40 to 50%, but I really like those kinds of margins. So
Yeah. So we're before
excited.
before we open up to questions, there's one bonus one. So we said there was like 5 key elements, but we're going to give you a bonus one. Okay. And this is the bonus one is just put your people first. And that's your teams and your members. One of the things that I really acknowledge Allison for is every decision that she makes, she always thinks to the people first. We have a very small leadership team and we're very close and we think of each other as family and we love on each other like crazy. And when it comes to our members and to our franchisees, every decision we make, they come first. We could easily be pulling more money to the company if we wanted to. Like almost every franchise in the country, in the world, has some kind of markup or kickback with the supplies they order, with the equipment they order, with the services they provide. We don't do that. It would have been really easy to say, well, your red lights, instead of costing you, our red light system is a $40,000 system. Our franchisees pay $15,000 for a set of red lights. It would be really easy to say, well, they're $17,000 and we would take the extra $2,000 per set. I mean, that would be like, $16,000, $20,000 per studio in our pocket. But we said we want every dollar to go towards our franchisees because we know if they're successful, that we'll be successful. Same thing with the members. If we know that the members are successful, they're happy, they're getting the results they want, they're having a great experience, the business will thrive. You hear about owners, and it's okay that they come with these questions like, oh, this person wants a refund. Technically, they shouldn't get a refund. And it's like, well, will it get you goodwill? Like, is it worth it to have that person go and have a miserable experience, tell all of their friends how they were mistreated, post an online review, how we stole their money? Or would it just be worth it to say, you know what? This is not how we do business. However, I know this was upsetting and I looked at it and maybe we weren't clear. I'm going to go ahead and refund this for you. And I hope that you have a great experience. And if we can ever help you in the future, please let us know. That's the way to operate. And I'll tell you, Allison does. I've worked with a lot of owners, a lot of franchisors. She leads with more heart than anybody I've ever met. Yes. And she really is this goofy all the time, which is great. So we want to open it up for if you have any questions, anything that we can answer, whether it's about red light method or just business in general in the health and wellness industry. How can we provide value? How can we help?
Eric, I have
Nobody?
a question. I do. I
Yeah,
have a question.
Rajni, thank you.
So I was curious, with the craziness of the world these days, and the tariffs and things like that, how are things going with your suppliers? Have there been any unanticipated costs recently? I'm just, from a franchisee perspective, what can you expect in 2026? Are, things locked in or just trying to prepare?
Rajni, we've been very blessed. We have not had an increase from any of our suppliers, from the Pilates reformers to the red lights. The red lights, only certain components are made overseas. The factory is actually in Reno. Like Allison's got a lot of best friends. Another one of her best friends is the owner of the red light business. He's amazing. The one thing that I saw went up a little bit, some of our what's the word I'm going to use? Like ordering, like we're doing a holiday promotion and we're ordering gifts for our members and we're doing like these tea mugs. They're like 80 cents more a piece than they were a year ago. But, we're ordering 100 of them. So it's nothing that's going to, get anybody bent out of shape. So we've been very, very lucky on that side.
Okay.
Yeah,
great.
most like the Pilates reformers are made in Sacramento. So that's close. And then the lights are done in Reno and the overseas parts come from Germany. So I don't know if we have tariffs with Germany, maybe we do. And then
Power plate.
yeah, power plate has not changed. What has is the Staiku 3D body scan is taking about 4 or 5 months to get. So we've let our franchisees know, like, if you're planning to do the Staiku 3D body scan, you need to order that like first. Like, you sign your lease, order the Staiku, like, because it could take 5 or 6 months, but everything else is like not that long.
Yeah,
So
and the price didn't go up on the Staiku. It's just
no,
the
it didn't. Yeah. They
yeah.
had,
Thank you.
yeah, they had something weird happen though, something with the timing, with their something with them that's delaying everything by taking 4 or 5 months to get, so.
Yeah, that's a great question, Rajni.
Thank
What? Yeah, what other questions do y'all have? And you can just feel free to come off of mute if you have questions. And if you don't have questions, that's okay too.
This is Ron Thompson.
Hey,
And
Ron, good to see you.
yeah, good to see you too. Laura was trying to get on, but had some difficulty technology wise. So I jumped on. Great presentation. Thank you so much for that. We're super excited to get going. Again, we've made some progress with our SBA loan in getting a pre-approval, but as the government shutdown kind of drags on, we're kind of subject to that. So we're exercising our patient muscle very strongly here. And we're super excited to come out and see Allison next weekend, and we're going to risk the airline disruption and all of that to get out there because we really believe in what you're offering, and want to make sure that we touch bases and see the full operation. I'm in a little unique position here with our, as you talked about, build out in our area here, because this area is one of the fastest growing areas in the country right now. And so we're going to try and keep our build out cost as low as possible, just because I'm in this industry already as a commercial project manager. But that's something that we are going to struggle with in this area. But we are, again, I'm working to try and use the resources that I have in town to try and get our build out done as less expensive as possible. So
Yeah.
Anyway, I just thought the presentation was really super helpful, and appreciate the energy and the support that you guys are going to bring.
Ron, it's such our pleasure, and we're really excited for you and Laura to come out to Reno and just to help you however we can. And yeah, just for everybody's sake, if you're, whether it's for Red Light Method or any other business, if you're in the SBA loan process, in case you weren't aware, that is at a standstill until the government opens again. We work with a couple of different vendors, and they're getting the loans as far processed as possible, like to the point of being approved, but they can't get the final stamp of SBA approval until the government opens back up, and then there'll be a backlog for a little bit. But it is what it is. We're all in the same boat together. Anything else from anybody? Any questions? Anything you're curious about? Okay. Well, our contact information is on the screen. So, and those of you that have had contact with us directly, you probably know that we're accessible by text, email, phone. To start out with, if you're not connected to us, start with this email, and then you'll quickly get connected to us. And we hope that you got a lot of value out of this. Again, we wanted to share this, whether Red Light Method was for you as a franchisee, or you were looking at another franchise. We love seeing people thrive. It's who we are. It's what we do. And I think that's why Allison is so successful, is because of that. Like, she just loves on people and wants them to be successful. So
yeah, I
however
think I'm just like, yeah, I'm really, really authentic. And we do Myers-Briggs tests. Sorry, my toy poodle's barking, but we do Myers-Briggs tests within our team just to help understand each other. And I'm like one of those like introverted, intuitive, feel like I'm like Bob Marley. And then I love it when when Eric does his Rastafari singing, but I can't do business unless I'm like passionately, wholeheartedly into it. And I just can't even do it. And I was a really terrible employee before I found Pilates and everything when I was 19, 20 and started teaching. And then I was like, oh, I love this. I could do this. But before that, I had like 40 jobs and I would just like quit. Like I was a waitress one place and they like, the lady was like kind of a jerk, the manager. I just like left, or like I was a really bad employee. Like I would just like, oh, I'm not working the 4th of July. I quit. But my personality is very bad with that. Like I have to like believe in it wholeheartedly, and then I can like fly like an eagle. And so that's what motivates me, is like the authentic, like the helping people, the loving people, the doing all that. The woo woo part is where I am driven from. So I can't be inauthentic or anything like that. So I don't think it's impossible. So
Yeah.
that's
And
my
our leadership team is like the perfect blend. So you have Allison, who's like Bob Marley and flying woo woo. You have me. I think mine was like in the Steve Jobs category. So
Yeah.
I'm like, hold on. Let's just figure out like, how can we make this work first? And then our president of operations is the most organized person I've ever met in my life. We could give her like the biggest hot mess and she'll be like, I can have this organized by the end of the day, and like really systematizes everything. And then we have our national operations and marketing manager who is a doer, and she will like run through a wall 100 times to figure out how to do something right before it actually gets done, and has no problem doing it. And together we really make it work, and it's such a joy. It really is. All right. Well, thank you all for being with us today. If there's anything we can be of service, please don't hesitate to reach out. We look forward to talking to you soon. Ron and Laura, have a great trip to Reno next week. Is there anybody else who's headed to Reno? No, I think that's it. Good to see you all. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.